So I'm logged into the editor. I'm going to increase my text size to make it more visible for you guys, but don't need to do that. And so I'm going to start just by making the artwork, and I'm going to try to approach it thinking about the patterns and how to change the patterns to get what I want. And then I'll show you guys how to document it. So I'm just going to change the name of this to assignment 1, Julio Lapark artwork, and save that. And I'm going to put it in my MMP 210 collection so I can find it later. And I'm going to start, usually any program that I start, I'm going to start by making a comment to just talk about what the assignment or project is. So I'm going to do a /* and then another asterisk and then / to do a multi-line comment. I'm going to say this is assignment 1, recreate an artwork. And I'm just going to put a link to this so that I can always go back if I forget where it came from. I'll put a little link here. And that's good. I can put the date if I want to remember when I made it. That might be useful. If you are going to share it with other people, you could put, your name on it. So I could say by Owen Roberts. So that's probably enough information. I can add more info there if I need to explain other stuff. So then I'm going to get started. I'm going to close this console a little bit. So first I want to match the canvas to the artwork size. Oh, you can see it pretty well on the projector. The artwork is really long and not very tall. So I'm going to make my canvas longer. Maybe I'll try like 800 by 400. And that's pretty good, but it still should probably be even longer. But I can always change that later. So I'll start with this and I'll make it longer if I need to. So then I'm going to look at this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 arcs. So let's say 13 arcs. And I can see that the rotation of the arc is slowly changing over time. So I don't have to get it perfect, but what I'll probably do is start and try to recreate that first arc and then see if I can make a bunch of copies of it, and then I will try to rotate them. I'm going to put a few lines down here. So let's start with my arc. And I want to start with one that's kind of like this one. If I look at it, it's definitely centered height-wise. And you can see the distance from here to here is pretty similar to this distance. So I'm going to try to make that distance the same for the origin of my first arc. And so I know that my height is 400, so I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to put an arc at half of that distance, 200 and 200. And then the arc itself is about half the height of the canvas. So I'll use 200 and 200 again for the width and the height. And then the part that's going to be tricky is getting the rotation. So I'm just going to start with 0 and pi for my rotation. And so that's a good start. So a couple things, I don't need the stroke, so I'm going to say no stroke. And then I want the fill of my arc to be black, so I'm going to say fill is black. Okay, so that's pretty good. But now we have to fix the rotation. So we don't want to start at 0. This is the trickiest part probably, because it starts like somewhere around here and then it goes all the way around. So this part. There's a couple ways I could think about this. Like I could try to guess, like this is 0, and then if we rotate all around, that's pi. And so half of this rotation around the circle is half of pi. And an eighth of that is, or half of that is 1/8 pi. And this dot looks like it could be about halfway between here and here, so I'm going to try that and see what it looks like, and then go from there. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to get basically the same idea. So it would start at pi plus pi divided by 8. Okay, so that's not 100% right, but it's getting closer. And then the next value goes the other direction, so I would say pi minus pi divided by 8. Okay, so that's pretty close. And then the last thing I want to change is make this chord. So that's going to connect those 2 points. So that actually is looking pretty good, but I might go back here and say, you know, it's a little bit farther than that. So what if I tried pi divided by 4 instead? Okay, so that's actually pretty good. And it kind of makes sense because this artist is very interested in patterns and math and things like that. So it makes sense that he would use some pretty regular dimensions. So that's pretty good. I've got a good start. I just have to copy this 12 more times and increment where it starts. So I'm going to paste, paste, paste. That's 4. And then I'm going to grab this whole section and paste 1, 2 more times. And now these are all going to be in the same place, but we need to start moving them. So I want to move them across the canvas. And so the value that I want to change is that x value. So the middle on the x, that is how far it goes this way. So if I go up to 400, that might look right. That looks pretty good, actually. So I'm not going to worry about the rotation quite yet. I just want to make sure that that's far enough. And it doesn't, I don't think it's quite far enough. So I'm going to add a little bit to it, which is going to make the math harder. But I want to make sure that once I do all this, I'm not going to get in trouble. So I think it's more like 420. So now basically what I have to do is either add 220 to each one, or I could just use multiplication. So 420 is also 200 plus 220. That's the same thing. And then if I want to take that and then multiply by 2, that'll get me the next one. Okay, and now I can just do this, and instead of having to do a bunch of adding, I can just add 1 each time. And now I'm like, oh, I should have just copied this one because that would be easier. So let's delete this. And then I'll copy this. 1, 2, I gotta count. Okay, so right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oops, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so it's kind of confusing, but now I just have to count up. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And now let's see if I get, so I need more space for my circles. So this looks pretty complicated, but what I really want to demonstrate here is that you don't just have to add numbers together. I can also multiply numbers or divide numbers instead of doing all this math in my head. Just figure out the pattern and then use multiplication to increment the position of my original circle. So now I just have to deal with the rotation. So I need a little bit more space. I can only see my first like 3.5 circles, so I'm gonna have to multiply this by a lot. I'm gonna start with 3,000, see how that looks. Okay, so that's a little more than I needed. That's okay. So I'll just take a little bit off. I'll say 2,800. Okay, that's pretty good actually. I don't know if it's exactly even, but it looks pretty close. So I'm gonna be okay with that for now. And now the hard part is the rotations. So another thing that I'm gonna do to make this a little bit easier is I'm going to put my rotations on another line, so it's easier to edit them. So this looks a little weird, but with JavaScript, I can move my code onto a new line, and it's still just going to read it as one function. Because otherwise, it's like I have to read all this stuff before I get to here. So I'm going to put my rotations on the next line. So I can just see those two numbers by themselves. And then I also kind of have my arcs grouped a little bit. And I might want to put comments to say, you know, which number arc it is. So that, because they all kind of look the same. And so as I'm scrolling up and down in my code, it's hard to tell exactly where I am. So what I might want to do is put some comments in here. So I have 13 total arcs, and this is the first arc. This is the second arc. I'll say this is 2 and 3. So they're kind of grouped together. 3 and 4. Oh wait, no, I already 2 and 3. So the next one would be 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10, and 11. And 1, 2, oh, whoops, I started counting. Okay, so this is actually 3 and 4. Whoops, okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I thought I was supposed to have 13, but whatever. That's good enough for now. Okay, so then the last thing I need to do is change the rotations. So I want to do the same thing here, but I'm working with these rotations, which are a little bit harder to do than just the x value, which just goes across. But instead of having to figure out moving, you know, each next one, what I want to see is what is the pattern. So they're always going to be, so this is a quarter pi this way, and this is a quarter pi that way. So that total is half pi. So we always want to be a half pi rotation away from each other. And then each one is going to go to the next one. So, well, actually, let me double check. Oh, it might be moving by a slightly smaller number, actually. So let's take a look. So, yeah, this is actually kind of hard. I think this one is the one on the bottom. So if I make that pi over 8, okay, so then I have to add an 8 over here. So actually, it's going to be a little bit harder than I thought. But that's pretty good, I think. So then I just have to keep going with that. So if I add an 8 here, and then add half here, so that's just pi over 2. Okay, so I just have to add to both sides each time, basically. This is probably kind of confusing. I'm just going to go through this. So then I need to start here. So this is pi, and now I'm adding pi over 8. There's probably a pattern here, but I'm not sure what it is quite yet. So then this is pi over 2 plus pi over 8. Okay. That's pretty good. So then the next one, pi over pi plus pi over 2 plus pi over 4, and then pi plus pi over 4. Oops, forgot the comma there. Okay, still going around, that's good. So now it's going to get kind of gnarly. Pi plus pi over 2 plus pi over 4 plus pi over 8. And then pi plus pi over 4 plus pi over 8. Forgot the comma again. Okay. So that's looking right, but it's probably kind of confusing. This probably isn't making that much sense, this part, right? Kind of, maybe? Okay. Maybe this wasn't the best example, but anyway, I'll just finish it. The main thing that we want to do is document this. So let me just finish it out. So the next one is, so pi over 8 plus pi over 8 is pi over 4. Pi over 4 plus pi over 4 is pi over 2. Pi over 2 plus pi over 2 is pi. So we have pi plus pi, which actually brings us back to 0. So that's nice. So we've made 2 pi's a full rotation. So this value is just 0 now. Then we have pi over 8 plus pi over 8 is pi over 2. So we just have to add those. So pi plus pi over 4 plus pi over... wait, no. Pi over 8. Oh, this is just pi plus pi over 2. Oops. I think I got that one wrong. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Oh, wait, yeah, I did, because this one has to keep going. Wait, so what did I miss? So pi over 8 plus pi over 8 is pi over 4. Pi over 4 plus pi over 4 is pi over 2. Pi plus pi over 2. I'm not sure, but let's just keep going. Okay, so now it'll be kind of easy. So now it's just pi over 8. So 0 plus pi over 8. Then pi plus pi over 2 plus pi over 8. And let's see if I can do 2 at a time. Pi over 4. Pi plus pi over 2 plus pi over 4. Okay. Screwed up somewhere, but can come back to it. This one is way back. Did I skip one? I think I skipped this one. Yeah, whoops. Okay, so I skipped one, so let's copy and move this one up here. Let's copy this and move it up here. And now we can do this one. So pi over 4 plus pi over 8. And plus pi over 8. Okay, so we just have 2 more. We're almost done. So now I have to add these 2, so that adds up to pi over 2. And then this one adds up to 4 over 4 plus over 4 is 2. So this one is now at 0. So we're coming around the end. All right, and then we just have one more. So this one's easy, pi over 2 plus pi over 8 and pi over 8, comma. Okay, let's see if it looks the same. Oh, there is one more that we don't have. Okay, so 13, I'll just copy this one and paste it in. What's up? Oh, is it not showing up? Yeah. Oh, and I have to multiply this times 12. That's why that's showing up like that. Yeah, I need to make the canvas bigger. Okay. So let's do 3,000. Okay, cool. So that probably wasn't the best example to use, but we're done with that now. So now we can actually document it, and what we want to do is put it on the Open Lab so that we can share our documentation. And one of the things that you want to do as you're working on your art or your class assignments or anything that you're making is you want to have it somewhere that is easy to access and that you can share with people. There's a lot of reasons for this, but if you are, when you eventually are going to apply for a job or, apply to work with somebody or maybe do something in freelance, you need to be able to show people that you are actually capable of doing the things that you've learned, right? I really can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a good portfolio if you want to do programming or creative work or graphic design. That's the main thing. It doesn't really matter where you went to school or, how much experience you have. If you have a good portfolio, that's what people are going to see when you, apply for something. So one of the ways that we have a good portfolio is by having a lot of options. So you may not, every assignment that you do isn't going to be, a masterpiece, and it's not necessarily going to be the thing that you put on the front page of your portfolio. But the way that you have a good portfolio is you have a lot of options. If you have 100 different pieces to choose from, there's a better chance that one of those pieces is going to be really good. If you only have 3 things to choose from, you don't really have a choice. They all have to go in the portfolio. And if one of those things sucks, that's what that's what's going to stand out. So we want to start putting everything into a place where we can remember where it is, we can show it to people, we can send it to people. We want to start creating a portfolio. So that's what we're going to do for this class. So this looks cool. I can send it to people. I can send the code to people. But most people don't know don't understand code. They don't necessarily understand websites. People deal with images and people deal with text. So what we want to do is save an image so we can send people an image they can just look at on their phone. So an easy way to do that, P5 has a built-in function to save an image. And we can actually add the function into our code. My draw function is really long now, so I'm going to put it up here before the draw function, but it doesn't really matter what order you put functions in. It matters what order you put the code inside the function in, but it doesn't actually matter what order our functions are in. So I'm going to put a function called mouse clicked, and I'll share this code with you guys to add into your own project. And what this is going to do is it's just going to run this code whenever I click the mouse on the canvas. And there's another function called save, which will save an image for me. And I can also name the image and say what type of image I want. So I'm going to call this assignment 1, Julio Leparc. Or I guess I could put my name on it. It actually doesn't really matter. I'm just going to say assignment 1 dot PNG. And if you want to put your own name on it, that might be useful, but it doesn't really matter that much. That's going to give us a PNG, but you can also do a JPEG if you want to use a JPEG. There's a little bit of a trade-off. PNG is higher file size. JPEG is a little bit worse quality. So with this one, it's not going to be too big. So when I run the program again, if I click on the image, you'll see it's going to save PNG, and that's going to be in my downloads folder most likely. Yeah, so this is my downloads folder. I don't know why it's clicked on C. I'm going to go to downloads. And there's my image. And so it's just like an image, right? It doesn't, you know, I can just send this to somebody. I can text it to somebody. I can do anything I want to with it. So that's a good thing to have as far as being able to share your work with somebody or put it on your portfolio page. So that's the first thing that we want. But we also, when you guys are turning in the assignment, obviously I want to see your code because I want to look at what your approach was and be able to give you feedback on how you did it. So we want to turn in both of those things. So what we can do is just make a new post on the Open Lab and put both of them on there. So I'm going to go to the browser and I'm going to go to the Open Lab. And I think we already made accounts on the Open Lab, right? Okay. So I'm going to go to the class site and I'm going to click on the little pencil. You can also click on the plus and go to post. It looks like those actually go to different editors. It doesn't really matter which editor you use, but the block editor is the new editor. And so I'm going to set a category. I actually haven't added a category for this, so let's just add a category. So let's say assignment 1. And I'll click add new category. So you guys can use that category when you post yours. And then I'm just going to say assignment 1. And then if you want to put the name of the assignment or your name or whatever, you can. So I'm going to put the name of the artwork. So this is Segmented in Rotation by Julio Leparc. And I'll put my name in the title just so it shows up on the feed by Owen Roberts. And so then the first thing we want to do is add the image. So in WordPress, you can click on this little plus to add an image block, or if you prefer, you can drag the image into the post, and you have to get this like little blue line here. If you don't get that little blue line, it's not going to work. It's sort of weird that it does it that way, but if I get that little blue line, it's going to upload my image there. And so then I could say this is my recreation of, what's the name of it? Segmented in Rotation by Julio Leparc. And I can add a couple of links. So I can say here is the original artwork. So when I add a link in WordPress, I just can select the text I want to link and click on this link button here. And so then I'll go grab that link from the Met website. So I just copied that and I'll paste it in here. And then I can also click this little open a new tab. That'll do what it sounds like. If somebody clicks on the link, it won't close my page. It'll just open a new page. You don't have to do that, but that's kind of how I prefer to do it. And then I'll say here is a link to my code. And so here I can link to my actual P5 project so people who are interested can see the code. I want to make sure that it's saved first. And then I'll just copy the main link here to the code, or I can go to share and you can actually see the code in full screen. So it'll show like this, or you can do an embed if you want. I wonder, I guess we could embed these on WordPress, although I bet it won't really work that well. Or I can just get the link to the editor, which I already have open. And so I can click here and that'll copy it. And so I'll go back to the post. And here's a link to my code. I'm going to click the link button again, paste that in there, open a new tab, and hit enter. And then I can preview this if I want to make sure it looks good before I publish it. It looks very, it's a really short artwork, but it's kind of cool. And so there it is. So there's my artwork. I have a little description. If you want to talk more about why you were inspired by the artwork, you can feel free to elaborate here if you want to. And then I can go to the original work to compare, and I can go to my code if people want to see the code. The nice thing about this is now there's also my author page, which doesn't seem to work. I don't know why. I'll have to figure that out. But theoretically, if I click on my author page, it should show everything that I've posted. Oh, it's not there because I haven't published this yet. It's still just a draft. That's why it's not there. And there's also categories for the assignments, so we can also look at all the assignments in a group. So let's publish this, and then I'll be able to see it. So I'm going to click publish, and that takes a second. There we go. And then I can click view posts, and that looks good. And now when I click on my username, I'll be able to see all my work. So this page will sort of become a portfolio for this class. And you know, you can use it as an example of here's a bunch of programming that I work that I did. And you can also share it with other people if you want to, and they can see the output of your work. So the last thing that we have to do now that we've done all of this other stuff, we're almost done. We got to take this link. So I can go up there and copy, or I can hit share and copy link. And now I have to turn it in. So I'm going to go over to Blackboard, and I'm going to go into student preview mode. So to turn it in, I go to assignments. I go to the assignment I'm working on. And if I want to view the rubric, I can make sure I did everything. And then what I want to do is write submission. And here you can just paste the link in like that. That's all you have to do. If you want to write something else, you can, but you don't need to. And that's pretty much it. You can click submit. And that's what it's going to look like when I get it. Okay, so when I go to grade it, I'm going to click on here. I'm going to look at it, look at your code, and then what I'll do when I'm grading is I'll go through the rubric and I'll comment. I'll say, you know, this looks good, you did this, or if you're missing something, I'll say, you didn't do this, you need to redo it. And as I mentioned in the last class, if you miss points on an assignment, you can always redo it. So if you got 80 points out of 100, but you know the thing that you missed, you read the explanation and you think I can do that, you can redo the assignment and submit it again, and I'll grade it again, and you know you'll get whatever that grade is. So just keep that in mind. If you want to redo work, you can. I think that's everything to go over. Any questions? Okay, cool. Let me